So on to a bit more about the options and the pathways, if I may. So many of you may be familiar with other, or may already be members and registrants through other institutions. And the NI is a little bit different insofar as we took the decision a number of years ago now, probably 6 or 7 years ago now, to decouple our professional membership from professional registration. And that is largely because we do represent such a diverse range of people, as Sarah-Lynn illustrated before, both technical and non-technical engineers, scientists, but people in many other discipline areas. And so we took that decision to decouple the professional membership registration grades. So what that means to you is that you can decide to apply for member or fellow, but leave your professional registration with another body. Some people gain professional registration, for example, the IMechE, the IET, as part of an initial professional development program as graduate recruits, etc., and the follow-on after that. You want to leave your registration with that institution, that is perfectly fine. You can pursue member or fellow recognition separately and independently to that. If you are considering the NI for both professional member and professional registration, then on screen there you can see the registration pathways available to you. The 3 licensing bodies work in very similar ways, and our processes and procedures all follow a very similar standard format for going through professional registration. So we are, again, another plug, we are on, I think, the 26th of May running a further webinar to delve into further detail about professional registration, covering those three pathways. Chartership is the most popular, I guess the most common grade of registration that we get applications for, but we also do progress people onto professional registers for incorporated engineer, engineering technician, and registered environmental technician. So those are the options and pathways. And from your point of view, you have the option to do them separately, jointly, and I'll come back to that in a second. Sticking with professional member for a while, as we've said already, most roles in nuclear directly or indirectly influence nuclear safety and security, the culture, the way we do things, the approaches that we take. So that first area of working in a job role that contributes to the safety, security, and effectiveness of the nuclear industry is fairly wide-reaching. And obviously this differs depending on your role, and I know we've got a broad spectrum of people on the session today, but from roles that perhaps focus on security with kind of less of a direct role responsibility for safety, but nonetheless making a contribution, to the flip side of that. So perhaps technical roles, roles with a direct responsibility for the safe operation, manufacture of safety critical materials or components, installation and commissioning roles, maintenance roles, safety case, and all of the optioneering developments and that side of things that go with that. So that is all. Sorry, I'm losing my track here. I'm getting messages coming at me from elsewhere. Sorry. So the point I'm trying to make is that the relevance of professional membership is applicable across the nuclear sector and supply chain. The real key when you're applying for professional membership is about actually you understanding and being able to evidence and demonstrate what the contribution you make is in your role, and that you actually do it and you can provide evidence of that. So that's that side of things. In terms of the bottom left slide, relevant qualification at level 3 or above, we sometimes get comment on this. Level 3 is essentially our baseline, and it's the baseline qualification or equivalent experiential learning. And that is because nuclear professionals at all levels, do have to make that contribution, whether you're an operative in a decommissioning setting, or you're actually, systems engineer or in the control room of an operating power plant. Each person has their role and the contribution to make. The caveat to put on that statement is that if you were looking at applying for membership and registration, then the minimum requirement, the minimum academic qualification requirement for registration would apply. So it would effectively trump that level, minimum level 3. So that means if you're applying for chartership at the same time, you would need to have a master's level qualification or equivalent, experiential learning. For incorporated engineer, it is a bachelor's degree, and for EngTech, other technician grades, then it is the minimum level 3. We've talked about the nuclear delta, and that is in many ways, that's the bulk of your application and the evidence that you bring forward. And then finally, the commitment to CPD and code of conduct. Okay, so moving on from that, your options, back to the title of the webinar. So you can apply for member only, or for membership and professional registration as one process. Key thing, I guess, to note here is that you cannot just apply for professional registration through the NI without also becoming at least a professional member, an MUCI. So that is essentially important for us as the industry body for the nuclear industry. But also what it means is that application can be done in one go, but needs to also address the member criteria and the applicable registration standards, whether it's engineering, science, or environmental. And then the options there for fellow are pretty much the same, with the additional option to upgrade from member to fellow, as we discussed earlier. The last little statement on the screen, the option to add registration later. So I'd kind of emphasize this. The way people are coming into the industry nowadays, many people are gaining a lot of hands-on practical experience as nuclear practitioners, nuclear professionals, quite early in the career. So if I think about people like graduate recruits, nuclear grad scheme, increasingly the 3, 4, and even 5-year apprenticeship programs, where people are coming out of those programs with significant direct experience and a lot of evidence of how they themselves have contributed to the standards in the workplace, the culture, etc. And it's entirely right that people are able to then apply for that recognition as a professional member, whereas they may not yet be at a point of being ready to apply for registration chartership in their applicable discipline area. Partly because they maybe haven't reached that point in their role where they've got the scope or the responsibility of the roles that would enable them to meet the registration standards. So that option to get your professional membership now, add the registration later, is a very, very live one, and is a growing kind of area of activity for us. On the screen before, you saw people there who one of whom was an apprentice who then came through and very quickly got their professional registration shortly after completing their professional membership. I do apologise. Shortly after completing their apprenticeship. So entirely appropriate.